This hour, we're going to tell you about an extraordinary film that if you see no other movie this year, you must see this one. It's a movie called Bella. And I've written about this for some time, told you about it, and it's here. It's at West Acres 14. You can see this movie now. And some students, actually, at Shanley High School are going to see it on Wednesday. I'm planning on attending as well, and I want to get the reaction of the students to the extent that some of you have said, Scott, when you see the movie, I want it too, because I'd ask people, hey, commit to going to see this movie, commit to buying a ticket, and we'll see it together. And I've got a lot of emails from you. We're going to do that on Wednesday. I thought it's a good day before the holiday, and maybe a little lighter schedule for some folks, so we're going to do that with the students. So stay tuned. I'll tell you the exact time and day before we get to Wednesday. And I'll also email all the folks that sent in notes. But if you see no other movie, see Bella. It really is an extraordinary movie. I've had the pleasure of seeing it once. My wife's seen it twice because it was here for sneak previews because there's a regional connection, a Fargo connection, an NDSU connection to this local movie. And we're gonna meet the person that is the local connection to a movie that is getting a little bit of Oscar buzz, that is racking up box office wins, that's causing Hollywood to notice. And this is not your typical Hollywood movie, folks. It's incredible. And it's got a pro-life message. You could take an adoption message away from this. You could take but more than anything, I say it's about life. It's just about life, and it really is extraordinary. Better than that, it's just not typical Hollywood junk, trash, and that's what's so fun about this. That this is the little movie that really is surprising a lot of folks. And has such a good message beside it. Sort of like the Passion of the Christ, Hollywood poo-poo it, boom, look at the box office success it had, so it can be done. And one of the forces behind Bella is our next guest, who helped with the development of the script for Bella. The filming, was even an extra in the movie, and is an NDSU grad, as a matter of fact, as well. Ed Vizenor joins us on the program today. Ed, how are you?
I'm doing great, Scott. Hey, thanks so much for allowing me to be on the show and, promoting this great movie that we've, been a part of and has been changing many lives across the country. It's amazing. It's
nice to have a movie come out of Hollywood that you actually can put in the same sentence as changing someone's lives, because usually it's I don't know, the lowest common denominator. And you've really made it your mission, Ed, to really take this on and make a difference in our culture through the media, right?
Well, I have. I try to do my small little part. I think we're all called to do different things in life, and I remember thinking in Fargo when I was attending school, I was like, gosh, I would love to be, I just feel called in some way to go to Hollywood and kind of make a difference, but come on, from Fargo, North Dakota, what am I going to do? This is kind of craziness. How is it going to happen? But in traveling around the country and doing public speaking, I was speaking at a family conference, and I was in California, and I thought to myself, this is my chance. I'm going to go to Hollywood, and I'm going to see what it's about. I'm going to try to meet some people. So I made all kinds of phone calls, and nothing happened. I was calling different studios, and they're telling my story, and they're like, that's nice, kid. Thanks a lot, And in other words, the doors are closed, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is not what I'm supposed to do. And I didn't know what Hollywood was. I just wanted to see it. I was like, is it wall-to-wall studios? Are there cameras on the streets? Action. I just had this naive idea of what Hollywood might be. And so, sure enough, I went to this conference, and I was speaking at the family conference, and lo and behold, this amazing guy that we know of is Eduardo Verastegi. He came up to me and said, hey, brother, I just started a production company. And he said, you should come visit sometime. I said, really? So, sure enough, I did, and I flew out to Hollywood, and we spent a week together, and after that, meeting Eduardo Verastegi and Leo Severino, they said, when are you coming out? So, March 25th, 2005, I flew out there, and, the rest is kind of history. It's just amazing to see what has happened since then, from the small little vision of this film to anything from them having a script idea and their office, which is basically a cell phone, to what it is now. And it's just grown and grown and grown and continuing to grow. And I think there's two ways we can really, do some influence in Hollywood, and it's either creating films directly or being around those people who are of influence and, suggesting positive things. And we've seen both those happen in Bella in so many different ways.
Now, I want to have you tell the story of Bella so folks get a snapshot of what it's about, so they make a point to see this movie now that it's here in Fargo. Just debuted on Friday at West Acres 14. And you mentioned Eduardo Verastegi, who is the star of the show. Now, Eduardo is not a household name by any stretch in the United States of America, but is in Mexico. In fact, he's been described as the Tom Cruise of Tijuana and the Brad Pitt of Mexico, and was kind of a big soap opera star that sort of got caught up in that whole scene, right? And then just kind of had enough already, came to Hollywood, just didn't like what he saw and wanted to do something different, correct?
He was, definitely. I mean, he's definitely, as People Espanol has rated him, he made it in the top 50 most beautiful. He made it to number 4. So he's really, a good-looking guy. And I'll say that, from the point of view of a woman, obviously. But, he's definitely has this gift and the talent, and Hollywood saw that, but they used it in a typical way, that he became like the Latin lover, the Don Juan. And he was put in roles that he just really, ultimately in his heart, wasn't happy with. And he thought to himself, my mother is not an object. My sisters are not objects. Why am I continually put into roles where I'm treating women like objects? And so he just was sick of it, and he wanted to kind of do something different. But it's interesting how it happened, Scott, because it was about what I mentioned earlier. It's like we can influence Hollywood in 2 different ways, and one of them is by being around those of influence. And his English teacher simply suggested to him some certain things. He said, you say you stand for this, but yet you're doing this in your life, and you're doing this in your life, and it's kind of a contradiction. He's like, well, wait a minute, who are you? You're just my English teacher. But nevertheless, she planted seeds, and they developed an amazing friendship, and he realized that there's a lot of things in his life that he has to change. And so he let go of this lifestyle, and he was making a lot of money, and he was really, really, really huge in Mexico, and he let go of it all to try to make films that make a difference. And he wasn't even working for 3 to 5 years. I believe he fired all his managers, and he said, I'm starting from square one. He said, even if he never, ever acts again, that's okay, because he realized his true call is not to be an actor, but we are called to make a difference in this world, whether big or small, and it happens in our daily life. And so I think he was rewarded for this little sacrifice that he made, actually a big sacrifice. And he met Leo Severino and Alejandro Monteverde, who was the director of the film. And the 3 of those started Metanoia Films, and later on they were brought to completion by meeting the financiers, Sean and Eustace Wolfington. And the 5 of them together became Metanoia Films, and really that's when it became complete. And they did what they did through Bella, and changing lives and hearts all across the nation. Incredible.
And folks know this, but this superstar, Eduardo, was actually in Fargo with Ed back in August, and the First Choice Clinic sponsored a premiere of the movie where people got a little bit of a sneak peek. And that's when my wife saw it. I had another obligation, so I wasn't able to be there that night. Then another group brought it in. The St. Gianna's maternity home actually brought it back later in the summer, early fall. So I did get a chance to see it then before it debuted this past Friday, where everybody can go see it now at West Acres 14. But Eduardo was in Fargo. You brought him to Fargo, North Dakota, right?
I did. Well, I asked him to come. I thought it would be nice to have him there. My family was there, and I said, it'd be great, Eduardo, if you could come. And I invited him, and he wasn't responding to my calls. He said, I'll be there, and then he wasn't responding the last week because he's been traveling for a year and a half, and I couldn't get a hold of him. I thought, okay, he's not going to come. And it was a really neat surprise because at the very last minute, just before I'm going to go up after the credits to talk, I turn around and I see this guy, and I'm used to looking him on screen, and then I realized there he is in person, and it was like, wow, it was a total surprise to me. It was a total surprise to everybody in Fargo. He showed up at the last minute, and he came and told the story. And the beautiful thing is, and so many people say it again and again, it's not just about the movie, but it's about the people behind the movie that make this such a beautiful mission.
We're going to tell you a little bit more about this story of Bella and how it came to be. You found out how it was that Ed got to Hollywood, and then, of course, the big story is now this little movie that is racking up box office wins, that is getting some Oscar buzz, which is just absolutely extraordinary, given what usually is up for an Oscar award. So stay tuned. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more with Ed Vizenor. He's a Breckenridge native, NDSU student, NDSU grad, rather, and has been out in Hollywood since 2005, as you heard that story, and now part of a movie that really has Hollywood scratching its head saying, how can this be? How can this be? We'll tell you the story of Bella next as we continue on WDAY's Hot Talk this morning. The movie Bella is in Fargo. It's showing at the West Acres 14 now. I just noticed in the forum this morning that there's some matinees scheduled on Wednesday. And, of course, with the Thanksgiving holiday, you've got lots of options to see it. If you see no other movie this year, see the movie Bella. It's a movie about life. And More of a description coming from Ed Vizenor to tell you a little bit about the movie here. We can continue with our guest. Ed's a Breckenridge native and spent some time at Fargo, NDSU grad, and went out to Hollywood in 2005 to try and influence what Hollywood does in the way of impacting our culture through messages that have value and have meaning and have impact, and is succeeding. Their first effort, the movie Bella, getting some Oscar buzz. Last week it was Yahoo Movies' #1 movie. I mean, think about that. All the competition out there for movies, and it's got some critical accolades at some of the film festivals. It just is extraordinary. So we continue our conversation with Ed Vizenor to talk more about the movie. So you talked about how you got to Hollywood and what your mission was in getting there. How is it that Bella came to be? Tell us about how Bella became your first project.
Well, I think, more importantly than that, Scott, I think I just want to say, I want to jump right ahead, if you don't mind, jump right ahead to the story itself, because I know we're a little bit limited on time here, and I just want to make sure that we get the storyline of Bella out there. And there's so many details. What I want to say to the people, to find that out, go to resources like bellanews.com. There's so many stories about Alejandro Monteverde, Leo Severino, and I know I won't do justice right here, and I don't want to rush through it, and it's better to hear it from them in the details that they want to say. But what I do want to talk about is the movie, and I know many people are interested in that, and that is basically it's about a true love that goes much deeper than romance. Bella's about a soccer player who had everything. He's on top of the world. He's about to make a $2.2 million decision, but something happens in his day that changes his life forever in an instant. And the beautiful thing, Scott, is how he responds to that in the movie. And sometimes you and I are faced with that in our life. All of us, just like we get hit with something in life, and we step back and say, "Whoa, wait a minute! I didn't expect this to happen in life. It's not supposed to be this way." And the question is, what do we do now? How do we respond from there? And that's the beautiful thing about the story, is you see how he responds. It's a story of hope. It's a story of perseverance, overcoming difficulties. He meets another young lady who has a similar experience, and together the two of them find out how a single day in New York through friendship can change your life forever. The film's called Bella for a reason, because it really is beautiful. I'm here in New York right now, actually in a hotel, and I've been promoting it for the last 4 weekends here in New York. And it's so amazing to see the people come out. And sometimes, all I can really say is beautiful. It's beautiful. I mean, that's why I hear it again and again. Oh, it's beautiful. And sometimes when I'm promoting the film, people come out and say, hey, you got to see this film. And like the people are promoting it for me, and I didn't even have to. And we were fortunate enough to be blessed by Goya Foods, because when they saw it, they were so inspired. They said, this is a movie that can make a difference in people's lives, that they bought out tickets for people to give away free in the streets, because they want people to see this, and they look at it, as you will, kind of a contribution to society, because goodness is diffusive of itself. So when you put this out there, people see this, it changes, and then people talk, and it's so inspiring. And also in New York, I was fortunate enough to be at the world premiere, and Tony Bennett was sitting right in front of me, and I had the camera there, and we were filming this. Actually, you can see it online as well, but he was so spontaneously moved. Tony Bennett, the Emmy Award winner, who's won so many Emmys, he stood up, and he walked up towards the microphone, and he grabbed it, and he said, this is a work of art. This is a masterpiece, and every single American should see this film. And he was crying as he said it, and we were like, wow. And if anyone has the credibility to say it, it's Tony Bennett, because he told us, he was involved in, he was a bellman or something like that for years at a movie theater. But nevertheless, Tony Bennett is definitely one that we didn't expect to say something like that. And the response has just been beautiful in so many ways. And I'm encouraged, Scott, because when you say that there's a whole school going to see this movie, I'm like, that's what it's all about. Because we've had people very generous all across the country participate in a program called Adopt a Theater. And basically what it is someone adopts out an entire screening, buys all the tickets, and gives them to people simply because they want them to see this film. And I believe that's what's happening in Fargo, right?
It is. Yep. A donor came forward and said, I'd love for students to see it. I know they've got the Shanley kids going for sure. They were trying to see if there would be another donor that would do Sullivan kids as well, so that both would be able to go on Wednesday. And I haven't heard exactly the time or exactly how big the showing will be, but I know Shanley kids are going for sure on Wednesday. Yeah,
and that's beautiful. And I want to invite any other listeners out there. If you want to be a part of this, please. It's a great mission to be a part of changing lives. I want to read a story here. We got an email somebody sent to Eduardo about us giving away free tickets in New York, and it says, "Dear Eduardo, it was so exciting to be part of Team Bella and to give away free tickets to your beautiful film. I have been deeply moved by the film and the impact I've seen it have on young people. I must admit, though, I didn't realize just how strongly it had the power to change people's lives until what I saw it did in Marlene's life." Marlene is a 17-year-old girl from the Bronx who came to the theater with friends to see the popular horror movie Saw. She was offered a free ticket before going to see Saw, but none of her friends wanted to, so she declined. However, she came back afterwards with her friends to accept the free ticket and watched Bella by herself. She was so moved, she wanted to give her entire weekend to help promote Bella. And so there she was out there on the streets with us, handing out tickets. 17-year-old girl from the Bronx. After spending the weekend with us, she sat down and wrote out goals on how she was going to change her life and become a better person. It was so inspiring to hear her stand up at the Q&A after the last screening of Bella and publicly tell her story. She stated how she regretted seeing Saw 4, and now she knows the importance of protecting her mind and avoiding negative entertainment. She was so grateful to have been given this opportunity to fill her heart with a movie that is good, beautiful, and true. Eduardo, I know you are extremely busy. If you only had time, I could tell you so many more stories like this. From the homeless man who said that Bella helped him realize that he, too, could have a second chance in life, to the group of teenage girls who were beside themselves and found an uplifting, inspiring film. This film is having such a powerful impact on people from all walks of life. Marlene's life will forever be changed because of Bella. I don't know if she would have come back to see the movie if it were not offered free. I have lost track how many times people came up to me after they saw it with tears in their eyes and said, "Thank you." We simply responded, "It was not me, but the generous individuals who adopted theaters all across the nation who deserve their thanks." So please, please, give a heartfelt and special thank you to everyone who has adopted a theater and helped make this beautiful story possible, and so many others like it.
That is incredible. That is absolutely amazing. And think of that, New York City and all the distractions there. That a movie like Bella can break through all that,
right,
and have that kind of impact is just absolutely extraordinary. And I know that's not a unique email. You have
so many more. I mean, we could dedicate several hours of shows to the fruits that are happening from Bella. And another most beautiful story is the story of Eduardo when he received a phone call of a friend in Miami, and this friend, basically this girl was being basically forced to have an abortion. She didn't want to have an abortion, and she didn't have a choice. She didn't want to do it, but her family said she had to do it. There was all kinds of pressure, and so this person called up Eduardo and asked for help, and Eduardo talked to him. I think it was like 3, 4 in the morning, and because the abortion was scheduled to take place the next day. And what Eduardo simply did, he felt inspired after seeing the movie Bella, that he made the offer to this guy. He said, "Listen, I will adopt your baby." And the guy was just in silence. He was like, "Well, wow," he didn't even know what to say. And sure enough, they decided, they kept their baby. And the beautiful thing is, there is now a new baby in this world, and her name is Bella.
And that's wonderful. And I've also heard the story that there was a baby named after Eduardo as part of this, and the amazing thing is that you and Eduardo, as part of the research for this movie, and I don't want people to think that they're going to go to the theater and see an abortion clinic or something like that, because this message is really about life, and a lot of these messages about adoption being an option rather than abortion are very subtle. They're very. Is Ed still there? Ed, are you there? Ed? We lose our connection. All right, you go ahead and call him back, Chris. No problem. I'll keep finishing the story that I was talking about. But the message is very subtle. It's a message about just some trials and tribulations, as Ed told you. You got a soccer star who's on top of the world, and something happens to him that forever changes his life. And suffice it to say, along the way, he meets someone who is in a crisis, has a crisis pregnancy, and an unplanned pregnancy, and is planning on, the only option is abortion. And he says, well, what about adoption? And, I don't want to give you any more details than that, But as Ed said, a moment ago, it's a beautiful movie. And Bella, actually, the name Bella means beautiful. And it is a beautiful message. So sometimes when we're sitting here saying, hey, it's about adoption or it's about abortion or whatever, you're probably saying, wait a minute here. How could it possibly be, an entertaining movie? That sounds a little too heavy to me. The art of this, the art and the magic in the filmmaking are extraordinary. And it's hard to get on the radio and explain this to you other than to say, trust me, if you see no other movie this year, see this movie. So anyway, what I wanted Ed to do was sort of tell the story of how, as part of the research for the film, he and the star of the show, Eduardo, again, the Tom Cruise of Tijuana, the Brad Pitt of Mexico, they're doing some research, and they go into an abortion clinic and meet a couple that is there to, have an abortion, what you do in an abortion clinic. Pick it up from there, Ed, on that story.
Sure. And I also want to comment what you said, too, about, this is not like some, film where you're going to see, like, some overwhelmingly strong, emotional, visual pictures that's going to, like, turn you away. Listen, all kinds of people have seen this film, from Christians to atheists to pro-life to pro-choice, and we've seen just enormous amounts of people from all walks of life walk away inspired. I kid you not, and that's why it's a movie you have to see and just experience it. And regarding the story that you asked about, Scott, Eduardo was, he kind of wanted to rehearse for this role. And so I said to him, one of the best ways to understand what a woman's going through is just to go down to maybe an abortion clinic and talk to them. And he said, okay, I'll go with and I'll listen to you and I'll just watch you. I'm not going to say anything. So we get there and we talk to one couple, and right across the street there was a crisis pregnancy center, and we talked to the young ladies and pointed them in the right direction. Eduardo simply listened to what I said, and then he didn't expect what would happen next is another couple came up, and they only spoke Spanish. And so Eduardo was kind of thrown in this situation where he had to talk to them. He said, I don't know what to say. And so he simply spoke with love and truth and talked to them and showed them a little video, gave them a teddy bear, and, that was it. We kind of went home that day and just kind of just thought a lot about what happened. And several months later, he got a call. He said, I want you to come down to the hospital, and I just had a little baby boy, and I would like to ask your permission if we could name him Eduardito. So a little Eduardito was born even before the movie came to be, and that's what they've said again and again, that if this film could just, touch one life, it's all worth it. And certainly that life has been touched. And there's
so many little many miracles like that about the movie. They're just extraordinary. Another one I found interesting was the little girl that plays Bella in the movie. Mm-hmm. That evidently, when she was picked for the part, her mother was not aware of the storyline or anything, and Eduardo or yourself felt compelled to sort of talk to her about what the storyline was about to make sure that she was okay with her daughter, obviously of a young age, participating in that, and found an extraordinary connection there too, right?
Yeah, and we turned out that we didn't know, out of all the girls that we chose, we found out that she herself, the girl who played Bella in the movie, she was adopted. And we found out that in the movie, the mother, who the real girl in real life, is actually going to use this movie to tell her this truth someday. And it's just amazing, all kinds of miracles and things that we couldn't possibly have planned,
It's phenomenal. It really is. It's not an overstatement to call this a life-changing movie, and there's been so many miracles along the way on how a little movie, independent film, is busting through. You look at Yahoo's website, Yahoo Movies, #1 rated movie in America right now.
I know. That's absolutely amazing. When I heard that, I'm like, really? Yahoo? #1 on Yahoo, that beats movies like Lord of the Rings and all the top movies. I'm like, okay, so I got to check this out. So I did, and I looked, and there it is, Bella, #1. I'm like, wow.
Exactly, and
that's the reason,
And I know one of the persons behind the film, producer, I forget which, was part of Mel Gibson's passion, and that one kind of rocked Hollywood's world too. This is following in that path in a lot of ways, isn't it?
It is. It's because it's kind of depending on the grassroots of the people. His name is Steve McAvity, and he's a producer as well. And he got on board and saw the beauty of this film and said, I want to be a part of this. And so, when certain doors are closed in Hollywood, we just go the routes of the people and the values of the people and see what they want, and we do a different sort of marketing, and we go to different groups and set up screenings and spread by word of mouth and shows like this. And we've seen, I mean, you just look at, Scott, some of the top-rated movies, the best time all sellers are movies with values in it. Anything, I think, number one is Finding Nemo. And you see, the values that are hidden and placed among these, from Lord of the Rings to Spider-Man, the battle between good and evil and the struggle in this world, but yet how people are striving for goodness, for truth and beauty. And these are the number one rated movies. And that's what people ultimately want to see. So where do we go to? We go to the people, and that's why we really need your help in Fargo. If you're listening to this interview, I'm, asking you to be a part of this Bella team and to go see the movie if you haven't seen it. And if you have, invite friends. Make a little goal for yourself and say, I'm going to bring 3 to 5 friends on this Thanksgiving weekend, because this is so important, because this is such a time of really Thanksgiving for the whole country, as we celebrate Thanksgiving. What a great way, if you think about it, Scott, for us to maybe, instead of, the day after Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving itself, maybe sitting down and instead of watching television together, why not go see a movie together? Absolutely. And a movie that you can say is life-changing, and a movie that is very powerful, and, by the way, very entertaining. I mean, this is an artistic movie. I mean, Ed is a very gifted individual that knows this stuff well. I'm just a hack talk show host, but I'm telling you, I can go to the movie and say, that's a beautiful movie, and it's entertaining and inspiring. And I don't want people to think it's preachy. It's not. In fact, I don't even know that the word abortion makes it into the movie, and it's very subtle. You have the star of the movie that is obviously praying for this girl that he's met, who's made a decision. Sort of subtly, you learn to not have this baby, and instead, and he did ask her at one point, do you ever consider adoption? Right. Like on a train. But other than that, it's not. I mean, I don't want people to think it's preachy, is what I'm trying to say. No, and the answer to that is, Scott, all you have to do is look at the fruits. For example, 6,000 films. 6,000 get submitted to the Toronto Film Festival. 300 get accepted. Only 1 wins. Last year, Bella won the top prize of the People's Choice Award at the Toronto Film Festival. Well, let's take a look at what other movies have won in the past. Well, movies like Life is Beautiful, Hotel Rwanda, Chariots of Fire. Already, this is the category that Bella has been placed in, and that has nothing to do with preachiness. It's a beautiful film. And don't let anyone ever tell you that it's just a small group of people. No, this is a beautiful film that is touching lives and changing hearts all across the board. And Toronto, it won the Smithsonian Institute Award. They gave it won the Heartland Film Festival, the top prize. Tony Bennett gave it a Media Excellence Award. It broke box office records for the films in our genre. Opening weekend became #1 rated movie in 4 weeks straight, according to Yahoo, as we mentioned. Exactly. Star of the movie was at the White House on Friday. There's been interviews on major national. In fact, I have a link on the website on our Hot Talk blog. Bella, a pro-life miracle of a movie. You can find that. And I've got all the links to the official websites, bellathemovie.com, bellanews.com. All the links are there to the Yahoo movie link as well, rating as #1 movie in America. I also have some clips up there, like the interview that Neil Cavuto did on Fox News with Eduardo, so you can hear more of his story, and so it's pretty neat. We've been talking about this movie on the Hot Talk blog for a while. We're thrilled that it's here. And by the way, kids can see this movie. I mean, obviously, you don't want to bring young age. Do you have a recommendation, Ed, on how young? Well, it's rated PG-13 simply because of the content matter involved, and it's dealing with some serious life issues. It doesn't have any no swearing or violence, but it's more so the topic matter involved that is kind of a heavy subject. So we say probably PG-13 is an area which you just might want to know your children. And our 11-year-old's going to see it on Wednesday, perfectly appropriate in our case. Sure. On the other hand, an 8-year-old girl probably wouldn't bring her because of one particular scene in there that has to do with an accident that I would just think would stay with her. But that I don't want to give away. But I mean, everybody needs to make the decision. But I tell you what a way to inspire a conversation with your children at the appropriate age. It's perfect. So again, I say to you, if you see no other movie, see this movie. And again,
Shanley students will be seeing it on Wednesday, and that's when we're going to invite our Hot Talk listeners to go along. Stay tuned if you've emailed me and said, Scott, when you see the movie, I want to see it. Appreciate the fact you've committed to buying a ticket. And if you want to sponsor a showing, we'll do another one. Let me know. We'll put that together because people need to see this movie. It is absolutely extraordinary, and it's all the more fun to know that someone from the Valley, Breckenridge, Minnesota, NDSU student, first-choice Clink, volunteer extraordinaire, great all-around guy by the name of Ed Vizenor is making a difference in changing Hollywood and behind this movie. So, Ed, congratulations to you on all the critical success that's out there for Bella, and God bless you and good luck. Let's hope this thing keeps going, okay?
Thanks so much, Scott. I really appreciate it, and I just really want to thank everybody for listening. And please, just go see the movie. That speaks for itself. That's all I can say, and you'll understand what we're talking about.
Links to all the websites on our Hot Talk blog, which is at areavoices.com/Hot Talk, or you can go to WDAY.com/Hot Talk and get to the Hot Talk blog there as well.